We have a great group of panelists here that will be focused on infra, from decentralized storage to actual scaling. And then we have Yijing from Kite to talk about different types of AI orchestrations. My name, very quickly, is Brandon Slack. I lead partnerships at Flipside. We are a blockchain intelligence platform. I will just pass it over to the group. Yijing, we'll start with you. If you could give a quick introduction on who you are, what your project does, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Hi, I'm Yijing from Kite. I'm the head of marketing at the company. So Kite is building a base layer for agentic internet. So what is the agentic internet? We think that in the coming future, it's actually not very far away future. It's just coming now. That agent will work with another agent for many things. For example, it help you to shop, to order. Yesterday we saw Shopify actually already collaborate with OpenAI. So I think that these things is coming. So when agent talk to another agent, I think another things remain challenger. First is how they can trust another agent, and how agent can pay another agent, and also how agent can coordinate with other agent. Not only agent, maybe other agentic services like a data, compute, storage model, because this is all the essential part to build that agent. So Kite is the the layer that coordinates all the things and make sure that agent-to-agent transaction can be in a trust and a secured way.
Hey everybody, I'm Matt Wright, co-founder and CEO of Gaia. We're building decentralized AI inference protocol and network. We help people take open source large language models, their own data, vectorize that, and serve it as an API endpoint. Then we're onboarding as a AVS in the Eigenlayer ecosystem to kind of validate the kind of inference services. So we also see this agentic future, this agentic internet where AI agents will be the largest consumer of the internet. And if that's the case, what do they require? What kind of between models, data, compute, trust on the inference layer? What do they need to verify their services? And so we're having a lot of fun building with agents and humans.
Hi everyone, I'm Rovis, product manager at Valory, core contributor of Olas. At Olas, we are building a decentralized network of agents, and we have two core products. One is the agent marketplace, where an agent can hire other agents to complete tasks. And we also have Pearl, the agent app store, where a user can use and own their own agents to work on their behalf autonomously. And all the products are live, and the capabilities are proven. So yeah, that's me.
Great. Hello, everyone. My name is Tom Ngo, CEO of Metis. We've been around for quite a few years, 4 years. We were one of the first L2 scaling solution. But we see the shift in the market, and we have evolved to really developing what the market needs. And currently, we see the crossroad of how AI and blockchain can really converge. And really, now we're putting a lot of resource in the AI sector. We think, and we do see that how we're digitizing and monetizing, I would say the digital asset side, data is going to be the same way as well. Right now, some of the biggest companies are monetizing our data, but I think with blockchain, we will really democratize that and allow other parties to really own their own data, verify their data as well. So we've incubated Laz AI, which is a AI-focused application layer built on Metis SDK. And right now we see the shift where how do consumer really monetize their data? How do you assetize it, and how do you market? So these are the things that we're focused on with Laz AI and Metis as a company. So it's great to be here and joining all these panelists.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. So just to note, we had a data provider that was set to join us as well. Unfortunately, they were not able to. So I did want to lead with this question on actual data infrastructure, data ingestion. So maybe, Tom, just staying with you, you guys have built quite a few different applications. You've built some infra over the past couple years. What does it mean to actually, to Matt's point, we think we're going to have agents and billions of agents coordinated. All of Web3 will be run on these. What does it mean to actually take in data into these agentic systems? And maybe just help me understand, what are the bottlenecks that exist today that really need to be solved for?
I think one of the bottlenecks today with anything on chain, like currently the industry of AI and all this, I would say chat GPT, they don't really feel like they need blockchain. But as a consumer, as people that want to see truth and know where their data is coming from, I think this is the solution that we can bring as a industry. In terms of inference on chain, I think some of these parties here and partners here are building something that caters to solving this with blockchain. And so are we as well. We see the bottleneck is blockchain is extremely slow. It feels like dial-up to me. It still does. So we built Metis SDK from the ground up, focused on AI. But I think in terms of how we compete with some of these, or not compete, provide another solution for some of these organization, it's not, we can't compete on compute power. We have to compete on what we can do as a blockchain industry, is verifying the data, knowing where it's coming from. Maybe a good analogy, I'm not sure the audience level of interest or knowledge on blockchain, but you think about an apple, right? You think it's apple, but how do you verify it's clean? It could be plastic apple, it could be made from, a brick stone, but even though it's a real apple and, you buy it or you access it, where did it source from? Is it GMO apple? Does it have pesticide on it? So verifying some of this information, of this data, I think is extremely important. And this is something that our industry can definitely provide value to the AI space.
Yeah, Matt, can we compete with centralized players on compute and storage? Go ahead.
Totally. I think the beauty of blockchains, if you look at the Web 2 folks doing AI, the biggest problems they talk about are, the context window, like having AIs find the exact level of context to come up with quicker responses that are more accurate. They have this huge issue of compute, of course. It's like a trade war for compute and GPUs. And then they have this issue of coordinating resources between a lot of these players from a perspective of trust. A lot of them are creating their own walled gardens of, if you're Meta and you're hosting Llama 3B to any of your end users on WhatsApp or Instagram or Facebook, they have kind of locked users into that space. They're not really able to move across different ecosystems unless you're using MCP servers. And so the big issue that we have here is coordination and trust. And these are two great things that blockchains can do. And so it's really ironic when you see Sam Altman or Mark Zuckerberg, talking about how they can't perhaps trust, or know how they're going to be able to trust agents, when in blockchains we figured this stuff out a while ago and we're just making it more efficient. So I think that's one big thing here. The other is on the coordination piece. So how do we essentially enable for the coordinations of compute, models, storage, and kind of the whole kind of inference process? We can incentivize folks with these kind of micropayments and smart contracts to provide their data into these systems and prove that it's their data and prove that they're going to get paid out for leveraging that in AI. But right now, a lot of these big AI kind of models are missing some of the context, and enterprises aren't able to open up their doors to these big companies. We worry that as we give more data to these big companies, they have more leverage against either us as individuals, creators, small business owners, NGOs, government agencies, institutions. And so we really have to incentivize folks to be their own AI provider, and that's really the infrastructure we're building, is helping them leverage more open source.
Can I add to that? So what you showed is pretty interesting. How we're seeing these big companies and these walled gardens. It's almost like blockchain in its early days, right? Silo communities, no interoperability. They're kind of going through the same thing. Even the gaming industry did the same. So I think that's a very interesting point, that maybe they can learn something from our industry.
No, it's wonderful. Thank you all. So on that note, we've been building infra for a long time. We feel like we're moving in the right direction. It seems like all the pieces are falling into place. But there still is an element here, and we all know the old saying, garbage in, garbage out. So Jason, would love just to hear for you all on the OLA side, and Valerie, how do you think about that? What does it mean to train and to create these agentic frameworks and allow people to do that in a manner that is constructive, it's supportive, and we don't get this massive slop of agents that are useless or sort of negative in nature?
Yeah, I want to start by the point before that blockchain can bring the trust that we need, and people need to own their stuff, their data, and their agents, and their tools, and that can be done only through blockchain. But yeah, the data is a big issue, and the quality of the data. So the way to do this, I think, it comes again back to interoperability and communication, to have similar structures between the data so they can be more easily verified and consumed and be used across chains. So for example, an agent use data from one chain and act on another chain without manual reconstruction of the data. So I think comes again into similar standards, similar communication standards and data standards. So data can be easily verified, quickly verified, and we can have higher quality of data.
That's amazing. Let's double click into that on the standardization piece. So Yijing, Kite has a marketplace. You guys are allowing for this decentralized orchestration of AI agents. How specific does data curation and standardization need to be in order for us to accelerate agents into the next decade or so? Can we have 2 standards, 100 standards? What does that look like, maybe from your perspective, Yijing?
Yeah, actually it can be as simple as 2 standards. One is, I think Google already make it, it's called agent payment protocol, so AP2, that they already made. So basically, when there's 2 things. One is how you build your agent. Another thing is how agent interact with other agent. I think when you build the agent, at least at the Kite platform, you can build the agent on any chain. So it does not have to be very strict standard that compatible from chain to chain. But what we want to make it standardized is when agent pay or transact with other agent. So that's actually 2 levels of the interaction. One is the agent, how agent talk to another agent. So agent-to-agent protocol, that's the things Google already, I think, published something 2 weeks ago. Another thing is the settlement, how the agent can settle the payment with another agent. I think first of all, I think a blockchain is the nature fit for this agent-to-agent payment. So when you do shopping on Amazon, so you use your credit card to pay because you know the merchant has the credit card network as well. But when agent pay another agent, they should not use credit card for many reasons. It's very high transaction fee. It's not suitable for micropayment, high-frequency machine-to-machine transaction. So blockchain is a nature fit for that. So with that, we actually need some standard for when agent pay another agent, how the settlement can be settled on the blockchain. There should be an industry standard. So the future will be you can build an agent on any chain, but when agent start to pay another agent, that have to send standard on the blockchain. So that's like a settlement protocol, etc. I think that's something we are building for. And we think agent is the biggest consumer in the future for blockchain and stable coins because this is next level of the machine-to-machine transaction.
Yeah, I think to add to that, one strength that we have in the blockchain ecosystem is collaboration. And so, us at Gaia and like with Kite and with Olas and with Metis, agents aren't going to care what platform they're using. They just want an API to hit or an MCP or A2A, AP2, or any sort of protocol that they can go and do some tasks that they're assigned. And then they're going to have some financial reward to do that task. Agents are not going to have necessarily a family they need to feed, or they need to pay rent, or they're going to the club till 2 a.m. They don't have philosophical thoughts of where their places in the universe. They have a job to do, and they're gonna their hierarchy of needs is going to be focused on getting the job done so they can get access to more jobs. And so we want interoperability between all these protocols, between these blockchains, because agents won't care at the end of the day. They're just going to want a clear, straightforward experience at the cheapest cost possible. And it's agent-to-agent payments for various services, and that could be, my agent needs some compute and wants to go do that on Kite, so be it. It probably has a better rate than going somewhere else. And so there's some really cool things we can do on blockchains in terms of resource coordination. But I think that's the most beautiful thing about the DAI space is that it's all very, very collaborative. I think we're trying to all figure out where we fit in, but it's much more collaborative I've seen than the kind of centralized AI space.
I'll be that guy and add a comment. So it's interesting to piggyback. I think this is pretty interesting conversation. I think the industry will actually shift on how we value chains or agent. Eventually, agents might be more valuable than chains. chains is just the highway, but the agent is the vehicle that's navigating all these highways. So the chain with the least amount of friction, with the most openness for how they're built, will actually gain the most value for these agents because they will source the value for you, right? And the chain that offer that seamless experience with less friction will be the one that's most valuable. So where do you value, the chain or the agent at this point? And you might tokenize how the agent might have a token, right? An asset. Now it has value that can be measured, how efficient it is, and now people can invest or maybe contribute in other ways. So that's something to think about for us as an industry.
It's an amazing point, and just staying with you, Tom, I think everyone here truly believes in decentralization. You guys are on Ethereum for a reason, but I think Metis was very early in recognizing ETH is a little slow, it's a little bit expensive, so you've built out this SDK really to help scale AI applications on Ethereum. How do you see the space competing, whether it's through new L1s with high throughput, corporate chains that are launching maybe to be a little bit more Web 2 affiliated? Walk me through the mindset that you guys had as you continued to build out the stack.
Yeah, I think a lot of networks are launching, and I have colleagues building other networks, right? But the challenge thing is having the right tools and having the right applications. Sometimes they don't have the right bridge, they don't have the right RPC providers, there's no standardization. Even though you might be saying, hey, this is a new chain, but we have the same partners, it's different. There's the intricate little minor details that makes the experience hard, even for developers, right? Developers have to launch on a new chain, but it's not like copy and paste. It's copy, paste, refine, see what, and troubleshoot. If not, we wouldn't see issues with chains launching, troubles with bridges. I think that's the key thing. But for Metis, we do see, we have to keep innovating. Which chain, which product is the right fit? I think for us, we just build where we see the alignment of what we build as a vision as a company, right? The ethos of blockchain. Why are we here? We're not here to compete with, traditional Gmail, right? Everybody uses Gmail, but we're all, hey, let's decentralize. But yet we really depend on some centralized application. We're here just to build solution that we truly see as use case for blockchain, payments, stablecoin. I think that's an extreme market fit. I'm currently living in Asia from the US, and blockchain has saved my life in terms of moving assets. If not, I can't open localized bank accounts and accessing, payment systems. And now you could have payments to fiat, which is great. That wasn't available a year ago. So I think it has evolved a lot, and stablecoin and accessibility is a great market fit.
Amazing. Thank you all. Matt and Jason, let me ask this question to you. As you continue to build out Gaia specifically, where are you hearing from teams the biggest bottleneck is on computation, storage, et cetera? Like, what needs to be built out over the next 2 years or so to really accelerate the space and keep up with the pace of innovation and building?
Yeah, this is very biased from our perspective. I'm sure we have similar problems, but a lot of developers, myself included, we love centralized tools. It's just a lot easier to go use your OpenAI models or your Claude, your XAI or Grok, Cursor, is very useful. And so having tools that are using models in open source is a bit of a challenge for folks. You end up having to become your own AI provider. So you got to handle your compute. You have to go and perhaps go get yourself some GPU or a Mac Mini setup where you're hosting your own models, or perhaps you're just buying up some cloud space. And then you have to figure out which models you want to use at scale, and it's a pain in the butt. So most folks are just using centralized models. They don't mind giving their data away to a large provider. They don't mind, paying the monthly fee because it outweighs a lot of the costs it takes to be your own AI kind of servicer. And so I think the scale of people running their own self-hosted models is needing to scale. Right now we had 400,000 open source AI models on Hugging Face last August. Today we have 2 million. So it's scaling a lot. These are not, these are smaller large language models, but still, it's getting to a place where people can now run their own models and own their own models, build those up over time. And it really becomes a place where in the Gaia ecosystem, we make it really easy where in 5 minutes you can deploy your own node that's your own model data and kind of tooling as an API. And so if we have this internet of all these model inferences that people can hit or applications can hit, then it really becomes a challenge of discovery. How do we enable for quick discovery of who has that information, who's hosting this model somewhere? So that's our biggest challenge and our biggest bottleneck, and it's what we're doing with EigenLayer. But I think the trade-off right now is extremely hard to convince developers to just go decentralized. It's just too easy and too cheap right now. But I think if it's too cheap, you should ask yourself, why is it so cheap? It's because we're really being monetized on the back end. It will be very scary in the next few years.
Please.
Yeah. Regarding computational resources and power, the centralized ones cannot be competed right now. They do the heavy lifting, but there are also decentralized solutions which are getting better and better. And I think the way to go there is that improved orchestration of the resources allocation within the decentralized options, so the performance can be improved and tasks like interference can be done there, which is lighter than training. And yeah, we are improving in the decentralized computational region, but still the heavy lifting must be done from centralized computational resources. But I think we're improving, and orchestration is a big factor on this one.
Thank you all. Yijing, I'll come back to you. On the developer question, from a pure go-to-market standpoint, what is preventing more developers from either building in the space and building different AI agents or launching on some of the platforms that exist? And then I'll ask a follow-up question on how do we get more Web 2 developers into this space in general? But let's start on the Web 3 side. What can we do better? How do we get devs to start building?
Yeah, I think still that's what is the fundamental behind the use cases you are building. Is that just define or sometimes the main point, or there's actually you see the fundamental value that can change many or have the impact? I think a lot of the very top AI builders still in Web 2, and their logic is less than about, okay, how I can be incentivized to build, but what is the value I create by building new things. So I think to solve this problem, I think the fundamental we believe is we need to find the real mass adoption use cases, have the real product market fit that will attract the Web 2 developer to build. So that's, for us, we will see like this agentic internet will be one of the biggest opportunity. You think so right now the shopping experience you have is that you use your iPhone, browse, and then your Apple Pay or credit card will pay. But I think in the near future, your agent will help you to do all the things for you. So the largest consumer side opportunity will be agent will start to be the first users in your internet. I think as we discussed, then by nature you need some new infrastructure to support. It should not be like a critical system. It's completely new. It's not like a replacing something you already exist. When you do the replacing, you need like a 10x, 100x outperform by the existing solution. But if it's a very new such use cases, completely need a new infrastructure, this is different story. And you see the real value behind that. We think that's actually exciting opportunity to attract the Web 2 builders. You tell them, hey, now your agent will really have the opportunity to work with the traditional commercial merchants. For example, agent will talk to the Shopify merchants, which is happening yesterday. We saw the announcement already. So in the future, the merchants will also have their own wallet. Then you will use your blockchain as the fundamental to let agent to talk to other regular merchant, and everything will happen on blockchain. I think with that, the Web 2 user, the developer will think, oh, this is real. It's not just like a DeFi. This is not just for trading. It's actually working for all the regular users. So it's more like I building an app in App Store. I building an app in iPhone Store. Then they will think, this is maybe real. I think that's the fundamental we need to convince Web 2 user. Now blockchain is the fundamental for some new AI use cases. I think that's the number one. And second is, of course, you need to think about how to improve their developing experience, make sure all the tools in Web3 or crypto industry can be connected to the Web 2, for example, Hugging Face, for example, or the GitHub repository. So make sure their transaction will be very smooth.
Jason, please.
Yeah, I want to add on this one. I agree with the point of the incentives. They need to have use cases that make sense to them. But I want to add more on the point of practicality. So right now, it's a developer needs to deal with different fronts. You have the data front, subgraphs. You have to connect with the blockchain RPCs. Everything is different across chain, and it's actually many fronts for a developer to handle, and that makes it difficult to work on. So it's not easy to make the switch, and also a Web2 developer needs to do a shift on the logic where you have one database in the backend, and it's not open source, most probably, and you have access to this database, and now it's different. Everything, for at least in OLAS, it's on the client side, most of them, and you have to change the logic the way you think. For example, there is no easy forgot password functionality. The password is not stored somewhere in the cloud. So I think that are the main points. And I think what we lack here is abstraction. Abstraction in development. So the developer doesn't need to know about the blockchain operations. They need to have just access to the blockchain seamlessly for data points and computational resources, and then just code functionalities.
Yeah, and I think you know, our industry's edge is 100% finance, like capital velocity. So I think we're going to have a lot more use cases with product market fit in kind of this agent-fi category, whether it's, you know, trading, or if it's, you know, agents that are like managing arbitrage between SECs and DEXs, or managing LTVs, or like liquidation ratios. Like, there's all kinds of interesting things they can do. I think overlying thing here is like humans shouldn't be doing a lot of these things we do on Web3. And so if agents can do these things and automate them, that's probably where we're going to find most product market fit first. If Web2 is looking at this space, if it's like innovation on models, or you know, how we're handling compute resources, you know, they're able to kind of do these things in their world. But I think where they're going to see agents be kind of interesting is, you know, agents that are making money. And I think for me, what's interesting is that, you know, I used to work on blockchain at JP Morgan, and I've had people argue that these agents will be able to open up bank accounts, and I will argue that that will not happen. Like, these agents are going to open up Web3 wallets before they open up bank accounts, unless you have a human in the loop. But again, you're putting on so much KYC risk on a client. So it's much more likely that if you want to do autonomous activities on chain with agents that are somewhat governed on chain, basically people worry about a lot of the, you know, the kind of trust and risk of an agent doing whatever it wants on the internet. If it has control of a wallet, you just drain the wallet. Like, it stops doing things if it doesn't have money. It's the way smart contracts work. And so I think there's actually a lot less risk if you give an agent a wallet in Web3 than if you give it a bank account. But that's my perspective, is agent-fi will be kind of the product market fit first.
Yeah, it's a great point. Thank you all. It's really interesting when you explain to people how much of the world is already automated, right? You explained 70 some odd % of the S&P is moved by HFTs and algorithmic trading. So our world's digitized and, you know, been automatized for a long time. This is just doing it at hyperscale. So Tom, would love to come back to you on the meta side. When you think about pure interoperability, both within EVM, cross-chain, et cetera, what does that look like both in terms of users using AI and building agents and agentic frameworks? How do we make sure that these things can talk to each other, they can work with one another?
I think having an open standard is one of the key thing. The less even 2 to 1 standard is most important. Like, we see gas, right? Gas pump is one standard, right? But if you have 2, that's already confusing. Diesel and gas, people still get confused. So it depends on our industry and the leaders that are driving in our space. How quickly do we want to move? How much separation, how much fragmentation do we want to have? I think that's the key thing. For Metis, we've open sourced a lot of our SDK and Atlas as well. So we welcome any chain and any partners to really help develop or even extract it, you know, maximize that. I think we have to be very open in our industry, because us as a technology company, we can only build so much. We depend on developers to take those tools and, you know, build out something that's have real use case. So our focus is really just building the tools, challenging areas that we see that aren't being challenged, and really just driving that forward with Metis, and that's what we're doing with Laws AI.
Wonderful. Thank you all. Jason? Okay. So we do have about 10 minutes, so I'm going to go a little bit faster with the questions, but would love just to start with you, Yijing, and would love to hear what is missing today. You know, we've talked about standardization, we've talked about infras developing. If you had a magic wand, what is one thing just in your purview that would be amazing or really constructive to build that would really accelerate DAI moving forward?
I think we need to build for us, I think the biggest mission is we build the bridge that we can really bridge the Web 2 and the Web 3. And in the future, there should not be something people always talking about, hey, how is the Web 2 AI versus Web 3 AI? But in the future, it's about, okay, we have some crypto use cases using AI or blockchain for AI. So to bridge it, I think two things. One is, as I said, the real fundamental and the product market fit is very important. So for us, we are working one angle, which is the agentic e-commerce, agentic payment. I think all of the guests here, they are working on different angles just to dig in and to find the real fundamentals for different business value. Second thing is we want to show that innovation is still in this place. Because I think the spirit about have decentralized is that you have the freedom to create, to be innovative. So I think that part is also the way we can bridge the Web 2 and the Web 3. People will see the people here have their spirit to build something new, and they have the freedom and the resource to build. I think that's like high level. I think those things will be our mission.
Thank you. Matt, magic wand?
Yeah. So if we see like this agentic internet where it's this massive demand economy and perhaps they're more interested in product market fit of AgentFi or like financialization of kind of agentic activity, from our perspective, then we're asking how do we supply the knowledge to run those kinds of functions or those tasks? And so for us, like we like to say Gaia is building living knowledge systems because we're creating these knowledge bases where folks are vectorizing their own data or turning it into machine readable code that agents can then use as essentially their inference model. And so if right now in centralized AI, their trouble is having the right context to achieve more accurate tasks for more efficient, with most efficient kind of use of resources, then we're trying to help onboard perhaps institutions or knowledge providers of all kinds. So maybe it's day traders, maybe it's financial institutions who are sitting on hundreds of years of financial data, understand macro markets in a way that would be impactful to DeFi. We're trying to figure out who those stakeholders are, how do we onboard that knowledge in a way that they feel they get to be the IP holder, the owner of that data, and monetize it. So for us, that's our biggest challenge, is that onboarding.
Okay, I want to make 2 points here. The one is about standardization, as we discussed. So I believe the agents are on the right path regarding the hard skills. And what is missing, which is also on the right path, is some agent-to-agent soft skills, communication, trust, so we can build multi-agent systems that can be much more efficient. That's one point. And the second point, I'm going back to the developers. So we're talking about Web 2 UX, which is of course very important, but we need to focus also on the developer experience. And that's a challenge we have at Pearl because we are integrating external agents, new agents. So the idea is for every builder can build an agent and integrate it within Pearl. So we are focusing a lot of developer experience and make it as abstract as possible. And abstraction is a way to go there. And part of the solution is, actually the solution that we are working on is the agent marketplace, where any agent can hire on demand any skill to be completed instead of reinventing the wheel every time for the agent developer. So those 2 points, communication and trust between agents, and abstraction between agents and skills.
From my perspective, one of the key things that I see is the risk factor. Verifying the agents or verifying the data. Our industry, we still have risk. How can I don't even trust all my assets on chain, right? So if we can trust these agents, I think there's a lot of loopholes that will be at risk. So until we remove the risk part and that magic wand say, hey, there's no risk, I think it'll be hard to really build this industry with agentic agents that are managing our asset. It might be hot wallets with a little bit amount of money, but I think the risk factor is the key thing, and verifying the data, verifying the agent is a key focus, and I think that's where we see the pinpoint where we have to really focus on.
So I'll be a little contentious then. That's definitely reality. Where does that come from? Can we solve that internally within our industry? Does that need to come from external regulation, compliance measures? What do you think, Tom?
I think it needs to move in parallel, right? From regulatory standpoint, each government has their own kind of rules or regulation. These agents are going to interact cross-border wise. Now you're going to think about how financial system are regulated. Where did this asset come from? Where you're interacting with? Which channel did it go through? So from that standpoint, I think we have to move in parallel. As an industry, we're getting better. Even Ethereum Foundation, hey, let's create a coalition, how we're going to do this. So we see the problem. We're working towards the solution. Are we here yet? I don't think so. But we're moving towards that way.
Slow and steady, for sure. Quickly, Yijing, Jason mentioned this or alluded to it. Would love just to hear on the reputation, the scoring system. How do you think about that? How is Kite going about, grading and evaluating some of these agents?
Yeah. I think this is something we're building right now. So I think I would mention that when agent talk to another agent, the first important thing is how agent can trust another agent. So the way we are solving this problem is first that each agent will have their identity by deploying a smart contract. So with that nature, they will have their wallet as a unique ID. They will have the programmable governance, embedded in the smart contract. And the most important, when the agent talk to another agent, all the transaction will be on chain. So it will be very easy and transparently to see how the agent's behavior in the past. So that will help them to build the foundations for the the reputation or the credit system. Because you will see for the last few times, did the agent do something bad, or they are actually very trusted in all the track record. So that's something I think will be very helpful to build a scalable agentic network.
No, amazing. Thank you for that. And I do think if you move to this world where everything is purely on chain, it's auditable, you probably get to a space where if this agent has done 3 things maliciously, to Matt's point, it's run out of money, you don't trust it. And I think that's a great just bit of provability of Web3, is you can trace these things from beginning to end.
So that's why blockchain is essential for the agent-to-agent transaction, because in the critical system, it's more like a black box. So you will not be able to see in deep that what exactly happened. So it's okay for the human to merchants network, but it's actually very hard to make it a standard solution for the agent-to-agent network.
And there's lots of layers to it. There's, of course, like on the inference side, it's, we're doing validation and verification of, was this, node doing the kind of running the model that it says it's running, and is it using the compute it says it's using. We're doing that through more statistical verification with EigenLayer. But there's other folks that are running, ZK proofs to kind of validate these things. But then on the kind of application side, like agents themselves can use all these primitives we have in blockchain, like just identities or reputation scores that are on a blockchain and can be essentially KYC for agents doing any activity. And so agents will actually want to compete for those kind of brownie points that they did something correct. And if not, we have ways on blockchains where we can essentially blacklist wallets from participating in our economies. Same way, like if someone's interacting with like Tornado, you could essentially have them not interact with the protocol. So that probably will be how agents are kept in and out of systems.
No, thank you all. So we have a few minutes left. We'll do lightning round very quickly. Tom, we'll start with you. You don't have a magic wand. We all meet back here a year from now. Tell the audience something that would surprise them in terms of an advancement, the evolution of the industry. Like, what would best case look like a year from now from either Metis or your understanding of the industry?
If I didn't have a magic wand, this is a tough one, right? I think for us, we still see the underlying layer of like the verification of the data. I think this is important. We're seeing like civil cases on people using AI and such. And now we're accountable because this is all traceable, right? And who is producing these data and how you're using it for work and such. But in a year from now, I think it will all change because even the credit score side, now you need to know the standardization for that. Whose standardization do you trust, right? Whose score do you trust? I think it could all be manipulated or influenced by the company that's setting the standard. So I think there's a lot of things that we got to work through. Wishful thinking, will we be more advanced? I think it's like blockchain evolution. It took really long to really evolve and really gain traction. I think the same with the agentic agents, AI as well, the way that we want to use it. So I think that's from our side, where we see verification of the data. Start from the foundation. Start with what we can do for our industry is the key.
I hope in 1 year we have a magic wand. We build a magic wand until then, meaning mostly the magic wand for interoperability. So for example, Pearl is a cross-chain product, and being able to more seamlessly integrate and act on different chains would be a significant step forward. The agent activity and the multi-agent systems that we want to build.
Right now the cost of inference is halving every 4 months. So it's every year it's like 10x more efficient. My hope is that within a year we start to see agents perhaps to inherit their own models, their own inference costs, be their own AI suppliers, versus 100% relying on a centralized provider. In that case, like the centralized provider could be perhaps a mentor to these smaller models that are self-owned. And so I think that will change this space quite a bit, make it much more efficient.
Yeah, I do a bold one that, so I hope the next year when we meet again here, the agentic e-commerce is becoming more dominant. So if I ask everyone here that who use your agent to book your travel and all your travel expense is paid by stablecoin, I hope maybe 80% of the people here can raise their hand.
I like that one.
That's amazing. So that concludes our panel. Thank you all so much for joining. That also concludes Agents Day. We'll be hanging around for the next few hours for networking, so please feel free to join us outside for some light refreshments. Please a round of applause for the panelists. And thank you all for joining.